Well, welcome back to Inside Personal Growth. This is Greg Voisin, the host of Inside Personal Growth. And Luke, for all of my listeners who've literally known me for years and years, they know that I go to the Natural Products West Expo almost every year. And there I find new and interesting people. And importantly, along with those people, new and interesting products. And you happen to be one of them. Lisa May, who is a friend of mine, actually made the recommendation to speak with Luc Maes. And it's Dr. Luc Maes, and it's the Maes Center for Natural Healthcare, and they're located in Santa Barbara. And you can get there at GOKAIBE.com. Go KAIBE. KAIBE, did I say it? KAIBE. That's where you're going to find more information about them. Well, Luke, good day to you. It looks like a beautiful day in Santa Barbara. Always good to.
And thank you for having me on your podcast.
Oh, well, you're quite welcome. And this story is one that I want our listeners to understand and learn more about. Also, they do have a book out, and we will show our listeners this, Cooking. And it's with Baobab. Cooking with Baobab. And this is the lost crop we're going to be talking about. But I'm going to let the listeners know a little bit about you, Luke. With 30 years of experience in plant-based medicine and natural products industry and director of the Maes Center for Natural Healthcare Practice, Luke has an abiding interest and keen insight in understanding health and skincare and real consumer needs and best practices in product development. His private research includes a study of medicinal plants through Africa, Central, and South America. His public interest fuels his desire to take what he learns and to share it with a global view towards solutions for people and the planet. And his partner in this, two partners, one, his wife, Barbara, she's the curator, and Tom Cole, he's the botanist and humanitarian that makes up this organization. Well, welcome to Inside Personal Growth. And it's really a pleasure having you on. And I've actually been taking the powder and noticed a difference already in the gut health. So I'm going to be an advocate for this. But the show isn't about selling anything. It's about educating people. So what we want to do is educate you first. So Luke, can you tell the listeners a little bit about your background, as a doctor, and how you became interested in natural healthcare as a naturopath?
Well, I studied naturopathic medicine and been in practice in Santa Barbara for the past 30 years, integrating functional medicine and classical homeopathy. I've been fortunate to study with some of the foremost leaders in these fields. But in addition, I've also been very passionate about plants and what plants can do for our health. And in addition to seeing patients, I've done extensive research on plant medicine and had been fortunate to travel the globe and learn from traditional healers as to their uses of the plants that grow around them. About 12 years ago, I became, for some reason, this tree, the Baobab tree or Baobab tree, that grows in the African savannah, called my name. Not to be too esoteric, but I was drawn to connect with this tree. As a naturopath, as you know, gut health is at the core of our practice. The gut, and our research is increasingly showing that the gut is truly at the core of many of our healthcare needs. I became totally intrigued by the benefits of the fruit powder of this amazing tree. You mentioned lost crop. The Baobab tree is considered a lost crop, undervalued for its incredible health benefits. The powder benefits the gut, it's prebiotic, and also benefits blood sugar. So my initial intent was to purely learn about the nutritional, the biochemical benefits of the fruit. But as my research went deeper and deeper, I realized that this harvesting this fruit could potentially make a huge impact, not only for the environment of the tree, but also for the people that live around the tree. So it took my practice of naturopathic medicine to a much deeper, broader, comprehensive way of looking at things, and opened up a world where I could benefit health, but also protect our planet.
Well, you certainly did that, you and Tom and Barbara. And this baobab is really just such an interesting fruit. And you also involved the people in it. And you then formed KAIBAE. Am I saying it right again?
Yeah, it's kind of another hard word, you know?
Okay, but you and your wife and Tom,
Yeah,
who I mentioned just a second ago, is the botanist and humanitarian.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about Tom and his role in this overall formation of the organization, because he was very important as a botanist to you, and obviously he's a humanitarian, because you formed this B-Corp, and then you created this mini series documentary that we'll direct our listeners to, called The Lost Crop. And you tell in that thing about the lost crop. And I want to really be clear here. The sustainable and socially responsible venture that you took on in Guyana and Colombia and Zanzibar to actually harvest the fruit, put the people to work. This is a big part of the story.
Yes.
And provide them with a livable wage and a business. So tell a little bit about the story and how you and Tom came together.
So when I was drawn to travel to Africa, I had no relationships there or connections there, and I had to find a way to meet somebody who knew about working in Africa, and happened through Google of all things to connect with Tom Cole, an incredible individual here that lives in Montecito, only 10 minutes away from my home. But we connected through Google. I wanted to find somebody who knew about Africa. And Tom Cole is a agroecologist. He is an experienced humanitarian, works in post-conflict regions throughout Africa, ensuring projects through permagardens, permaculture, to promote food security in these regions. And I was lucky to connect with him, and his passion for trees, for aloes and the baobab tree of all trees, he knew it very well. We connected and traveled to northern Ghana in 2012, met with elders, and through his expertise, we're able to develop solid relationships with local communities. His expertise in community development is a very valuable asset for KAIBAE. We've been, since through his experience and my background in the medical uses of baobab, have been able to create a supply chain that benefits the communities in northern Ghana, a supply chain that wasn't there before. Have been able to establish a processing center that now makes an impact on about 1,000 community members. And 85% women handle the fruit and process it. Equal pay. So for us, KAIBAE means hello, how are you, by the way, shalom, bonjour, in Kusal, which is the language of the local communities. So the first time we drove up in the northern region, the ladies were all lined up and cheering me on. KAIBAE, KAIBAE. It was very enthusiastic energy. And on my way back, it was like, I need to call my company KAIBAE, because it was such a powerful, energetic, well, it still gives me the chills, greeting that will leave me connected to that first, forever to that first day. And so, yes, KAIBAE means hello, how are you? Are you well? And baobab is actually called the African tree of life. It's served a very important purpose to communities throughout centuries. Not only as a place for shade, but a place to gather, a place for food, and it's getting sort of lost in its appreciation because of the delusion that access to plastic packaged foods are a step up in the world. It's an incredible ingredient that we all need to integrate more back into our lives.
Yeah, well, you've done a lot of work around this, and you were telling the years and years you've been working on this, and you also had some challenges you faced along the way. You had to share those with me to get this not only to a B Corp, because people understand that a B is a betterment corporation. Um, and when you started the news ventures, how were you able to overcome them? Obviously, you found Tom, who helped you work in Africa, and he was
Yeah,
a big part of that. I mean, there's no way you could have done it without him. You
definitely
gotta
not.
you gotta have somebody to navigate the terrain while you're there. But what challenges did you face, and how did you actually overcome some of those challenges to get where you are today? I mean, you're importing a product, you're processing it in a plant here. I think you have a co-packing plant near you there in Los Angeles. You say that
Yeah.
grinds it into the powder. So there's a lot to this. It's not just what people think it is. There's a lot to it.
It was, how do you call it? I would say very idealistic in the beginning, and we've learned along the way, and we're able to find people with specific expertises to help us along the way. So initially we had to figure out, can we truly sustainably harvest this tree without stressing the environment and the communities? So we had people in the agroforestry region, expertise field in Ghana help us out. And then we had to develop a quality product. So we roughly process the ingredient in Ghana, but then the final processing is done here in the US, where it's milled and processed and tested to ensure we have a quality ingredient for the food and beverage industry and the cosmetic industry. But yes, every step of the way, from ensuring that we're supporting the communities and the environment the way we want to, and all the way here to providing a quality ingredient with the proper certifications. So the trees are harvested according to guidelines by EcoCert in Ghana and processed according to USDA organic guidelines. And we're a B Corp. Yeah, a B Corp took me several years to achieve that third-party certification. But for me, it was a stamp verifying that what we're saying about supporting the ingredient as environmental-wise and social good-wise, that we are truly adhering to our promise, that the consumer is going to participate and with a company that truly has true values and truly is committed to not only providing a quality ingredient, but also protect our environment. As a naturopath and as somebody who loves nature, there's an interconnectedness that we have to preserve, reestablish for our health and that for the planet.
Well, and I think what you've done really well, Luc, is it's like a tapestry. When we create a tapestry in life, we look at all the interconnections. And when you've gone to the lengths you have to harvest the baobab fruit, and then have your company make these products, these various products, which we'll talk about, for your gut health and your skin health and all of this, that again, you can just go to KAIBAE.com. That's where you're going to find AE. Sorry. We'll put a link. AE.
That's okay.
Go there.
No problem.
So I think that brings us down to this fundamental personal philosophy when it comes to health and wellness, right? And as a naturopath, there's the allopathic doctors. I just had an allopathic doctor on, but you see many of the allopathic kind of approaches now going different directions. Functional medicine doctors, they're moving different directions because they believe in the natural way to arrive at health and wellness. That's not to say that drugs and medications should be thrown out the window. It's to say that which way do you want to live your life and what can you do? So you've got a philosophy, I'm sure. And the baobab is this powerful superfood. And actually, it's an ingredient that you're now selling. You got FDA approval. People can, eat it. Of course, it's a natural supplement. I don't think you really need an FDA approval, right? because it isn't.
It's GRAS certified, meaning
Yeah.
it's generally recommended as safe.
Yeah. So speak with us, because I think what our listeners want to know as much about your venture to actually get this to the marketplace today, but also how, as a naturopath, you're using these products, and two, what kind of successes have you seen from people?
Well, I mean, as a naturopath, I feel like we've lost this connectedness, this interconnectedness with our natural environment. And that is, I think, at the root of many of our ailments today. We look at the rise in metabolic syndrome, diabetes, cardiovascular disease. We're learning that our internal environments, our internal milieus, I look at the body as an environment. When it's out of balance, that's expressed on our mental, emotional, and physical levels. So our internal environment very much parallels the outside environment. And what we're learning is that we're losing diversity, biodiversity around us, but we're also losing diversity within us. The gut microbiome, as we may get into a bit more in our talk, we're learning that these bacteria that live in the gut are neglected for a long time, and now research is showing that gut health and the prebiotic fiber that Baobab provides encourages the flourishing, the growth of these bacteria that are vital to our immune health. You know, we all think, oh, bacteria are harmful or cause disease, but actually we live in harmony with many organisms around us. And as a naturopath, but also as science is showing, our modern lifestyle is disconnecting us from the nurturing benefits of the natural environment. So KAIBAE is all about bringing nature back, reconnecting us with the nature's benefits. We call it rewilding the gut microbiome, because it's pulling us back towards nature. So yeah, as a naturopath, I look at it in a very comprehensive way, and how can we, in the best way, maintain the health of ourselves, but also our environment.
So given that, and I totally agree that they're interconnected and that we've lost that connection to it, like you said earlier, you know, packaged plastic products that people eat, right? And I think that's good. And in some areas, it's easy to get. There's you know, lots of fresh food markets. There's natural products there. Inner cities, maybe not as much. You know, people still have to go to the grocery store, but they should be buying more of the stuff in the vegetable aisles, but maybe not. And in this case, so if somebody is on a probiotic right now, a pill probiotic, would the Baobab actually be a substitute for some kind of probiotic? Because you were speaking about the gut health. Well, obviously, they're both for the gut health.
Not necessarily. So what we're learning is that the American diet is low in fiber, rich in sugar and high in inflammatory fats. The American diet, our modern lifestyle with, you know, pollution around us, is driving us into this metabolic disorder direction. And what we need to look at is one, we look at our diet first, because we need a diet that drives us in the other direction, in a healthful direction, a diet rich in fiber. And what Baobab offers is, in addition to a diet that's more rich in plant and vegetables, and actually, you know, maybe some people can grow them themselves in their backyard, because we need to eat more plants. And Baobab is a super concentrated source of prebiotic fiber and polyphenols. So what we're learning is that these prebiotic fibers, these polyphenols, and these probiotics, so probiotics are the healthy organisms, prebiotics is the fiber that feeds the probiotics. So one, move towards a plant-based diet and add foods rich in prebiotic fibers, such as Baobab as an example. And if you are not familiar with polyphenols, polyphenols are what plants concentrate in order to survive in their environment. So you may have heard of polyphenols from wine, or then why you need to eat chocolate. But plants
Resveratrol, right?
Voila, resveratrol in wine and cocoa, you have theobromine. So when you concentrate these polyphenols, these plants in the wild, like for example, baobab grows in the savanna, one of the harshest environments in the world. So it's very rich in polyphenols. So the prebiotic fiber, the polyphenols, and the probiotics work in synergy to help the body produce these metabolites that cross into the bloodstream that are anti-inflammatory in their benefits the heart, the brain, the nervous system, benefits the gut, local gut digestive health, and benefits the skin from within. So we're learning that polyphenols and prebiotic fiber are truly essential to good health.
Well, and I think for the average person listening to this podcast, while they may not understand all that, there are so many resources they can go to. They obviously can go to your websites, which we're going to have a link to. And they can Google any of this to find it out. But you have a center, the Natural Health Center in Santa Barbara there, that offers a variety of naturopathic services. You know, if they go check out the website, they can see that. If I'm listening out there and I want to speak with somebody like you are a doctor, and I want to do a visit, what's the first thing they can expect, and how do you integrate natural remedies and treatments into this? Because someone comes to you and says, hey, look, I'm on 6 medicines. I got these problems. I've gone to the regular MD, or I've gone to my cardiologist, or I've gone whatever. What kind of expectation? Because I don't believe there's a fear about going to a naturopath. I think there's a misunderstanding of what a naturopath can actually supplement and can do. And I want to break that myth around maybe what it is.
So naturopathic doctors are doctors that are trained as family practitioners. There's licensed naturopaths. Doctors are licensed as family doctors. But when you visit a doctor such as myself, I look at the whole picture. I try to understand who are you and how is your health concern limiting you in your life. So when you sit in my office, the way I work is I listen for sometimes an hour, hour and a half, sometimes longer, until I truly understand the mental, emotional, and physical limitations that emerge with a specific health concern. As a classical homeopath, which is a doctor that uses minute dilutions of plants and minerals that serve as a spark to help your body's own ability to reorganize. My goal is to truly understand my patient as a whole, and I tend to. As part of that, let's say we live in a very stressful lifestyle. Well, who doesn't? When we live in a state of anxiety or sleeplessness or greater depression, that state trickles into our chemistry, and our cells start to talk a different language. So whereas we may go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, for example, where allopathic medications are prescribed to alleviate depression or anxiety, while those medications sometimes have their place, by understanding a person on a deeper level, we can really help them along further before they have to resort to medications.
Well, it's a whole mind, body, spirit approach,
correct,
right?
Correct.
And I think when sometimes people hear the word spirit, they don't understand. They know mind, body, right? Mm-hmm. But it isn't spiritual. It isn't religious. It's spirit. It's what you believe. It's your philosophy. It's what you carry as a soul. It's the DNA that's implanted in you. You know, and you said a minute ago, and this is a word that I'd never heard before. And look, I've done almost 1,100 interviews at this point with authors on books, and you called it rewilding. You said it a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And I think you referred to it as rewilding. So how does this rewilding restore the microbiome health? Because we know now, because of the studies that have been done, not in particular the studies between Heart Math Institute, but there's a connection between the heart and the gut. And actually now they're saying that the gut is more important. I don't want to say more important, but as important as the heart. And that the two are interconnected. How would we use this rewilding to restore the microbiome? And what is this connection between the gut and the heart?
So when our state shifts, it's also reflected in the gut. And we're finding that people who are stressed, that the gut microbiome shifts. Now, what is the gut microbiome? The gut microbiome is the collection of microorganisms that actually is present not only in the gut, actually mostly in the gut. Trillions of microorganisms are present in the gut, they are influenced not only by our stress around us, but actually the diversity. If the gut microbiome is balanced, you can actually deal with stress in a much more effective way. So it's a two-way street. So what we're learning is that these organisms, the gut microbiome, there's actually a microbiome in the lungs and the skin, but actually the gut microbiome is truly more important because 70% of our immune system is wrapped around the gut. And these organisms that live in the gut continuously monitor the external environment. They assess the diet. They also assess the nutrients that they can extract and provide our bodies with. So the healthier the gut, the healthier the diet, the healthier the gut. So the gut can make messengers that benefit, as you mentioned, heart health, and also brain health, also our mood. So that the expression, I have a gut feeling, wasn't far off. So yes, the gut is crucial to our mental, emotional, and physical health.
Yeah, it's important. And
yes,
and we've all gone through this period of time with the pandemic and COVID and around our immune system. So you stress this immune properties associated with the boba.
Yeah.
And I think this is as important or as most important, especially since everyone is very on top of this. They're like, okay, immune is a big thing. Can you speak with us about how this helps our immune health as well? And really what we can do to improve our immune health?
Correct. I mean, to get back to the word rewilding, to explain that a little bit more, rewilding is actually a word that comes from conservation biology, where biologists restore environments to their native original state. So repopulating an ecosystem, rebalancing an ecosystem. So when I talk about rewilding our microbiome, that's what we're doing by eating healthier, by including ingredients such as baobab that help the gut flourish and become more of a balanced ecosystem to have a healthy immune system. So yes, immune health, 70% of our immune system is wrapped around the gut. And what we're learning, like with COVID, for example, there was some research done in Italy that show that people with a healthier gut microbiome, people who were eating more fiber, more probiotics, had a less severe outcome from COVID. They were able to be more protected from the damaging effects of COVID. So again, pointing back to the way we fuel our environment, our internal environment, and how we can best protect ourselves in this rapidly changing environment.
Yeah, and I think everybody who's listening understands the importance of this in their overall health. So when you do mind, body, spirit medicine, in this case, as a naturopath, as a functional medicine doctor, that interview, that first intake that you take in, which can be an hour, hour and a half, is to really start to look at that tapestry of your life, the own DNA, your own web you've created, so that you can get in there and dig deeper into somebody's health, both their mental, their emotional, their spiritual, all of it. And I think that's the integrative medicine approach. And it always has been for a naturopath. Now, I know we talked about a lot today, but if you were to leave the listeners with some sound advice on gut, skin, and immune health, what would you inform them that they need to do or might want to consider doing? And why these supplements that you produce are so potent and helping them with this overall healthy lifestyle? Because, look, there isn't a be all and end all in any one thing. There are lots of things you need to adjust in how much exercise you get, in what you take in natural foods that you're taking in the supplements that you're taking in. And it all blends in together to kind of make this tapestry, this big tapestry. And so what kind of advice would you give him if you were giving him mind, body, spirit advice as a naturopath?
I mean, we're in a great time to kind of make an inventory. It's spring, we try to clean home when it's spring, and maybe we can clean our internal home as well. And you can look in the fridge, look in your cabinets, look what foods contain artificial sweeteners and chemicals that you can't read and probably your cells don't know what to do with. Try to add foods as much as you can that are as close to nature. Shop at your local farmers market, get the cleanest foods you can, and support people around you with local foods, and also integrate, once you have cleaned up that diet, which is the ultimate foundation, then you can start refining that with adding more fiber, such as Baobab, with more polyphenols. What I like about Baobab is because it's so nutrient rich, you don't have to add too much more. It has calcium, magnesium, potassium, a lot of vitamin C. So you slowly build on a good diet. Secondly, when you address that part, I recommend to sit down every day and breathe. Take at least 5 minutes. Take a deep breath, because we forget to breathe. We're all in a rush. We're all running around. The parasympathetic nervous system, the calm part of us, needs nurturing. Sleep, very important. Exercise. In fact, exercise has been shown to improve my gut microbiome health. A healthy sleep improves gut microbiome health. So as you refer it as being a web, everything is connected. So I would say sit down, take inventory, maybe do a 7-day diet history. Look what you fuel your body with, and maybe what you can replace it with. And look at all these different aspects: your breath, your sleep, your exercise, your diet, and start there before resorting to a huge complex of supplements, which should be tailored according to your individual needs.
Important advice, really great advice. And for my listeners, here's a little cookbook.
That's a great little cookbook that we worked together with local vegan chefs here in Santa Barbara, who have created plant-based recipes, adding the benefits of Baobab.
Yep. So when you go to the website, look for this. You can go to Amazon. Is this book on Amazon? I presume it is.
Yes, and I mean, people can also access it for at no cost, accessing our website.
Okay, super. Well, what I can say is I've learned a lot about Baobab and about you guys. And again, for my listeners, it's KAIBAE.com. There you're going to find out more about Tom and Luc and Barbara. You can shop at their gut health, their skin health, and their immune health kind of stores for their products. There's also the link to the Lost Crop film. So if you want to see more about what they were doing, you can learn it down there. So it's pure, it's potent, it's wild, and it's microbiome wellness.
Microbiome wellness.
Microbiome wellness. This is the book. Actually go out and get it. We appreciate having you on, Luc. Really
Thank you so much.
Explaining all the things that literally make up who we are as individuals, and how you, as a physician and a naturopath and a functional medicine doctor, approach it. I think the key is how people approach the healing, right? Because when people are sick, there's so many ways that you can approach that healing. And I love your approach. I think it's fantastic. Namaste to you and the team.
Thank you.
Thank you for being there. I appreciate you and Barbara and Tom. And again, for all the listeners, go watch the Lost Crop video. I think that you'll learn a lot just from that, because it was very well done. And you can see what the B-Corp is doing. Thanks so much, Luc. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.
Yeah.